My daughter sent me one sentence that froze my blood. "Mom, I am locked in Grandma's shed. Please do not call Dad. My name is Genevieve. I am 34 years old and I work as a compliance manager for a health insurance company. Most days, my job is numbers, policies, and quiet little lies people tell on forms. I thought that made me good at spotting danger. I was wrong, at least at first. It was raining the night the message came through. Not a cute drizzle, but that hard southern rain that hits the windows like gravel. I was standing in my apartment kitchen in Charlotte, still in my heels, still wearing my badge on a lanyard because I had been too tired to take it off. The microwave hummed behind me. Leftover pasta. A normal Tuesday. A normal life. And then my phone lit up. "Mom, I am locked in Grandma's shed. Please do not call Dad." For a second, I did not breathe. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. Then I snapped into motion and my hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. My daughter, Marley, was 13. She hated being outdoors. She hated bugs. She hated being cold. The idea of her in a shed was already wrong, but the last part was worse. "Please do not call Dad," because she knew something I did not. 2 weeks earlier, my husband, Griffin, had told me it would be good for Marley to spend spring break with his mom. He said it with that calm voice he used when he wanted something to sound reasonable. We had been married 12 years. I had learned that calm did not mean safe. His mother, Rue, lived outside a small town in South Carolina, on a piece of land that smelled like wet pine and old secrets. I had met her maybe 3 times. She never hugged me. She never used my name. She called me the girl, like I was a cashier who had got her order wrong. "You work too much," Rue had said the first time we met. Her eyes had slid over my thrifted blazer and my cheap shoes. "You do not look like a mother." Griffin had laughed, like she was joking. At the time, I swallowed it. I was trying so hard to be the kind of wife who could not be blamed for anything. Marley did not want to go. She clung to the doorway of our house like a cat refusing a bath. "Mom, please," she had whispered. "I do not feel good there. Grandma watches me like I am something she is measuring." Griffin crossed his arms. He did not yell. He did not have to. He just waited, and I felt that familiar pressure behind my ribs, the silent expectation that I would make things smooth. "It is only 5 days," I told Marley. "Then you are back," I promised. But the moment she arrived at Rue's house, things started shifting. Marley always called me at night. We had a ritual. She would take her shower, put on her oversized hoodie, and sit on her bed with her string lights on. We would talk about school, about her friends, about the weird teacher who always smelled like peppermint. Even if she was mad at me, she called. The first night at Rue's, she did not call. I called her. It rang until voicemail. I called Griffin, who was in the living room with the TV on like nothing in the world was wrong. He barely looked up. "She is fine. Mom said she is tired." The next day I tried again. Voicemail. I texted Marley, no answer. By day 3, my stomach felt like it was full of stones. I asked Griffin to hand me his phone so I could call his mother directly. He did, but he hovered too close, like he needed to control the air between us. Rue answered on the second ring. "Where is Marley?" I asked. I forced my voice to stay steady. "She is right here," Rue said. She dragged out the words. "We are bonding. Can I talk to her? She is doing chores." Rue sounded pleased. Kids need structure. I heard something in the background then. A muffled thud. A quick little sound like someone bumped a wall. I felt my skin prickle. "Rue," I said slowly. "Put Marley on the phone." "You always were dramatic," Rue replied. And then, in a softer voice, almost like she forgot I could hear her. "Stop making noise. You will get her worked up." The line went dead. Griffin shrugged when I told him. That is just how she is. I tried to drive down there on day 4. I was already grabbing my keys when Griffin stepped into the doorway. He did not touch me. He did not need to. He smiled, and his smile was cold. "If you show up there like some crazy person," he said, "you will make it worse. You will embarrass us." Us. He said it like Marley was a shared asset, not a human being. I remember looking at him then and realizing something that hurt in a new way. I had spent years trying to keep him happy, and I had never once asked myself what it cost my daughter. That was the day I started paying attention. Because Griffin had been acting strange for months. He had started talking about custody like it was a concept he could shop for. He would mention that my job was demanding, that I traveled to Raleigh twice a month, that I sometimes worked late. He would say it casually at dinner, like he was reading headlines. "Kids need a parent who is present," he would say, looking right at Marley. He started keeping a folder on his laptop called Family Documents. I found it by accident when he asked me to print something. It was filled with scanned school records, my work schedule, notes about my overtime. I asked him what it was and he smiled again. Planning, he said. Just being responsible. I told myself I was overthinking. I told myself every marriage had weird phases. Then that text from Marley came, and the phase turned into a threat. I texted her back immediately. Marley, are you safe? Can you talk? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then, one more message. Mom, she took my phone and let me send this. She is watching. I am so hungry. I cannot breathe when the door is closed. My vision narrowed. The kitchen felt too small. The rain outside sounded louder, like the world was leaning in. I hit record on a voice memo and whispered, Marley, if you can hear this, blink twice in your next message. Tell me anything you can. Another pause. Then my phone buzzed again. A short audio file. 8 seconds. My fingers were numb as I tapped it. Mom, it was her voice, tiny and tight. I am in the shed behind the house. She locks it with a padlock. She says it is for discipline. Dad knows. Please, please do not call him. The recording cut off with a sharp inhale, like she was trying not to cry. Quick pause. When I am editing late at night, I get tired and your comments keep me going. Like and subscribe and tell me your city, state, or country. All right, back to the story. I did not sit down. I did not scream. I went very calm, the kind of calm that shows up right before something breaks. I called 911. The dispatcher was polite, and that almost made me angrier. I gave the address, the rural road, the name of the town. I told her my daughter was locked in a shed and starving. Who is holding her, ma'am? My mother-in-law. And my husband knows. Is your husband there with you now? Yes, he is in the next room. Then you need to stay safe, ma'am. Do not confront him. Officers are being dispatched for a welfare check. A welfare check. Like my daughter was a leaky faucet. I hung up and looked toward the living room. Griffin was sitting on the couch, scrolling on his phone. The TV glowed on his face. He looked peaceful. I walked in quietly. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. He glanced up. You okay? I nodded. My voice came out too smooth. I am fine. I'm going to bed early. He watched me for a beat, like he was listening to something under my words. Then he smiled again and looked back down. That smile told me everything. In the bedroom, I packed a bag with shaking hands. Not because I wanted to run, because I wanted to move fast. I grabbed my passport, my birth certificate, Marley's social security card, the little folder of school documents I kept in a drawer. I took cash from the jar in the closet. My brain ran like a checklist. I heard Griffin on the phone in the living room. His voice was low. I crept closer to the door and pressed my ear against it. Mom, he said, did you do it? A pause, then his voice again, sharper. No, you cannot let her talk. Not until the papers are signed. My throat went dry. Papers, so that was what Marley had whispered about. The papers she had said she was supposed to last a little longer for. I stepped back before he could catch me listening. My hands were slick with sweat. My own husband. The man who used to carry Marley on his shoulders at the zoo. The man who took photos of her first day of kindergarten. He was planning something with his mother, something that required my child to be locked up. I did not have time to understand it fully. I had time to act. My phone buzzed with a number I did not recognize. South Carolina area code. I answered and a woman's voice cut through, urgent and controlled. Mrs. Warren, this is Deputy Holland Pierce with the county sheriff's office. We are on the property you reported. My knees almost buckled. Is she alive? I whispered. There was a brief silence, and in that silence I heard shouting, distant, muffled, a door slamming. Then the deputy spoke again, softer now. Your daughter is alive, but you need to get here as soon as you can. We need a parent present, and we need to talk to you about your husband. I looked at the bedroom mirror and saw myself, pale, eyes wide, hair still pinned from work. I did not recognize the woman staring back. She looked like someone who had just learned the world could swallow children. I forced my voice steady. I am coming. I am leaving now. I ended the call, grabbed my bag, and walked out into the hall. Griffin was still on the phone. He stood when he saw me, his eyes narrowing. Where are you going? I met his gaze and made myself blank. I forgot I have a meeting in Raleigh tomorrow. I am leaving tonight to avoid traffic. His jaw tightened. At this hour, I shrugged like it was nothing. I get anxious in the morning. For a moment, I thought he would stop me. Then he did something worse. He stepped closer and kissed my forehead, gentle, almost tender. Drive safe, he said. Text me when you get there. I nodded. I held my face still while my skin crawled under his lips. Outside, the rain had slowed. The air smelled clean, like the world was pretending nothing evil had happened. I got in my car and locked the doors before I started the engine. My hands shook so badly I had to grip the steering wheel with both hands. In the rearview mirror, I saw Griffin at the doorway, watching. He raised his hand in a small wave. I backed out and drove away, my heart screaming one thought over and over. Please let the police get to her first. The interstate was a ribbon of wet black glass under my headlights. My windshield wipers snapped back and forth like metronomes for panic. Every mile marker felt like an insult. 48 miles to the state line. 37, 21. I kept my phone on the passenger seat with the screen lit, volume maxed, waiting for it to buzz again. I told myself the deputies had her now. I told myself she would be warm, she would be drinking water, she would be breathing. But my brain would not stop showing me the words shed and padlock, like they were carved into the inside of my skull. Half an hour in, my phone rang again. Same South Carolina number. Mrs. Warren, Deputy Pierce said, and I could hear wind in his mic like he was outside. We have her out. She is conscious. Ambulance is on the way. I exhaled so hard it made me dizzy. Can I speak to her? Not yet. She is scared and she keeps asking for you. Listen, ma'am, you need to stay on the road, but I need to warn you. Your mother-in-law is losing it. She is screaming that you are unfit, that your husband will handle this. She says you are unstable. Did your husband know she was locked in there? My grip tightened until my fingers ached. Yes, Pierce paused. Then he said, we also got a call from your husband about 10 minutes ago. He said you might be driving down here and that you are a danger to yourself and to the child. He asked us to detain you for evaluation if you show up. Confirm it. The worst part of betrayal is how predictable it becomes once you see it. I forced my voice to stay calm. Deputy, I am not a danger. I have been begging to speak to my daughter for days. I reported this. I have the messages and an audio recording from her. Good, Pierce said quickly. Do not delete anything. Screenshot everything. And keep your phone on you. I am going to be honest, ma'am. When husbands start calling us before mothers arrive, it usually means they are trying to control the narrative. The word narrative hit me like a slap. Griffin loved narratives. He could turn anything into a tidy explanation that made him look like the hero. The calm husband, the patient father, the wife with the stressful job, the unstable mom. He had been laying that groundwork for months, and I had smiled through it because I thought our marriage was just going through a rough patch. Where's Griffin right now? I asked. Pierce said he claims he is coming. Says he has paperwork, some kind of emergency custody petition. I do not know if it is real yet. Paperwork? There it was again. My chest tightened. If he showed up with a judge's signature, he could try to take Marley out of my arms while she was still shaking. He could try to put her right back into the same circle that had locked her up. I swallowed hard. Deputy, I need you to do one thing for me. Keep her with medical staff until I get there. Do not release her to anyone, not even her father, until you verify what happened in that shed. You have my word, Pierce said. But you need to get here fast. I ended the call and tried to breathe through my nose like my therapist had taught me years ago when my anxiety first started. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. It did not help. The only thing I could think about was Marley saying Dad knows. I drove faster than I should have. I passed trucks that sprayed mist into my lane. I did not care. My whole body felt like a taut wire. At one point, my phone buzzed with a text from Griffin. Where are you? Call me, now. I did not answer. I did not give him my voice. Instead, I opened my messages with Marley and took screenshots. I saved the audio file to cloud storage. I emailed it to my work account. Then I emailed it to my best friend, Colette, with one line in the subject. If something happens to me, open this. My pulse jumped as soon as I hit send. That thought had been sitting in the back of my mind like a shadow, and now I had dragged it into the light. Griffin had already called the police to label me unstable. What else had he done? 10 minutes later, red and blue lights flared in my rearview mirror. My throat closed. No, not now. I signaled and pulled onto the shoulder, heart hammering. A state trooper approached slowly, hand resting near his belt. Rain speckled his hat. Ma'am, he said, do you know why I stopped you? I kept my hands visible on the wheel. No, sir. He glanced at his device. You were clocked at 88 and a 65. I opened my mouth to apologize, but the words tangled. My daughter is in danger. I am driving to a location where deputies are responding. I just got the call. His expression did not change much, but his eyes sharpened. What location? I gave the address. I gave the town. I said my daughter was locked in a shed. The sheriff's office is there right now. Deputy Holland Pierce is on scene. The trooper blinked once. Then he stepped back and spoke into his radio. I watched his shoulders shift as he listened. When he returned, his voice was controlled. Ma'am, I am also seeing a note attached to your plate. Your husband called Highway Patrol and said you might be driving while emotionally distressed. My skin went cold. I forced myself to be very precise. Officer, my husband is trying to cover up a crime. I have proof. My daughter sent me messages and an audio recording stating she was locked in a shed by her grandmother and that her father knows. I have already notified 911. My phone call log will show it. The trooper studied me. There was a long moment where the rain filled the space between us. Do you have the messages? He asked. Yes, I picked up my phone slowly. My fingers were clumsy. I held it out with the screen facing him. He leaned in and read. His jaw tightened at the line, I am so hungry. He listened to the audio with one earbud, his face going hard in a way I recognized. Not anger, decision. Ma'am, he said, I am not going to cite you, but you need to drive safely, and you need to keep your hands steady. If you crash, you cannot help her. Tears burned behind my eyes. Thank you. He handed my phone back. He also said something else, quieter. If your husband tries to paint you as unstable, you stay calm. Let him be the one who gets loud. I nodded and pulled back onto the road, shaking worse now but also clearer. Griffin wanted me frantic. He wanted me to scream, to hit, to look like the story he was writing. I could not give him that. 2 hours later, I turned onto Ridgemont Road and my stomach flipped. The place looked exactly like I remembered from the few visits I had endured. Long gravel driveway, tall pines, a farmhouse that leaned a little to one side like it was tired of holding itself up. There were already vehicles everywhere. 2 sheriff SUVs, an ambulance with the back doors open, a fire truck parked crooked, yellow tape fluttering in the wind. I parked on the shoulder and got out, legs wobbly. The air smelled like wet earth and something sour I did not want to name. A deputy stepped toward me. Ma'am, you need to stay behind the tape. I held up my phone like it was a badge. My daughter is Marley Warren. I am her mother. Deputy Holland Pierce called me. His eyes flicked over me, then he spoke into his radio. Pierce, the mother is here. Pierce appeared from behind the ambulance. He was tall, mid-30s maybe, rain dripping from his hair. He walked straight to me, and the way he looked at my face told me everything. He looked like someone who had already seen too much today. Mrs. Warren, he said. She is alive. She is with paramedics right now. I made a small sound that was half sob, half laugh. Where is she? Pierce glanced toward the ambulance. She is dehydrated and cold. They are taking her to the hospital in town first. We are also securing the scene. I stepped forward and he held out an arm to slow me, not rough, just careful. I know you want to run to her, but I need you to listen. Your mother-in-law is in custody. She fought when we cut the padlock. She kept yelling that the child deserved it. My vision tunneled. You cut the padlock. Pierce nodded once. It was on the outside, and the shed window was boarded from the outside. That is not discipline, that is confinement. I swallowed, throat raw. Did she say why? Pierce hesitated. She said she was helping your husband. She said he asked her to keep Marley quiet until the paperwork was finalized. Those were her words. My knees threatened to fold. I grabbed the edge of my car door to steady myself. Griffin had asked. Griffin had planned. Where is he? I managed. Pierce's mouth tightened. On his way. He called dispatch again about 15 minutes ago. Said he is the legal parent and that you are not to be given access if you are emotionally compromised. I stared at him. I am her mother. I know, Pierce said, and his voice turned firm. That is why I want you to do something smart. You work in compliance, right? The question startled me. Yes, how did you know? He nodded toward my lanyard still around my neck, half tucked under my jacket. You look like someone who knows how to document. So document. Do not argue. Do not threaten. Do not swing. Keep your phone recording if he shows up. And if he has paperwork, we verify it. We do not just take his word. I nodded and my body shook with a rage so clean it felt almost pure. I wanted to rip my own heart out and throw it at Griffin's feet. But I heard the trooper's advice in my head. Stay calm. Let him get loud. A paramedic approached then, a woman with tired eyes. Are you the mom? Yes. She gave me a quick, professional look, like she was assessing my stability. Your daughter asked for you. She is alert, but she is very scared. We are taking her in. You can ride behind us or with us, but we cannot have you in the back while we work. I did not care where I sat. I just needed to be close. As they wheeled Marley out on a stretcher, my breath punched out of me. She looked smaller than she should have, her skin pale, her hair matted in damp tangles. Her lips were cracked. There were red marks on her wrists, not deep cuts, but abrasions like she had tried to pull against something. When her eyes found mine, she made a sound that split me open. "Mom!" I rushed to her side. I took her hand. Her fingers were icy. "I am here, baby. I am here. You are safe." I kept saying it because I needed to believe it too. Her eyes filled. She tried to speak, but her throat worked like it hurt. The paramedic leaned in with a small cup and a straw. Marley sipped, then whispered, "Mom, do not let him take me back." My heart slammed into my ribs. I kissed her forehead. "Never, I promise." Behind me, I heard shouting near the house. A woman's shrill voice, furious and wild. "Rue." Even in the chaos, she was performing. "That is my grandbaby," she screamed. "That woman is poisoning her. She is not fit. She works all the time, she does not even cook." Pierce barked something at another deputy. The shouting moved farther away, muffled. Marley squeezed my hand weakly. "He told her," she whispered. "Dad told her I was bad. He said you would not come. He said you were tired of me." My throat burned. No, he lied. Her eyes squeezed shut and a tear slid down her temple. "He made me write something," she whispered. "He came the second day. He stood at the shed door and said I had to sign papers. I said no. Then he said if I did not, he would make you disappear." My blood went cold. The paramedic gently nudged me back as they loaded Marley into the ambulance. I climbed into my car with shaking hands and followed, tires crunching gravel, lights reflecting off wet pine trunks like the whole forest was watching. At the hospital, everything became fluorescent and fast. They took Marley into a room with curtains and machines. Nurses spoke in clipped tones. Fluids, vitals, labs. A social worker with kind eyes introduced herself as Waverly and asked Marley questions in a soft voice. Marley kept looking at me like she was checking I was still real. I stood at the foot of the bed until my legs ached, not willing to sit because sitting felt like surrender. An hour later, Deputy Pierce walked in with another man, older, wearing a suit that looked too clean for this place. Pierce's expression was tight. "Mrs. Warren," he said, "your husband is here." My body went very still. I felt Marley stiffen under the blanket. Griffin stepped into the room like he belonged there. Hair perfect, shirt ironed. That calm face he wore to meetings, the one that made people trust him. He carried a manila folder. "Genevieve," he said, and he used my name like a weapon, like proof he still owned the right to say it. "Thank God you are okay. I heard you were driving erratically." I stared at him. "You called highway patrol." He spread his hands. "I was worried about you. This is all so stressful. Rue called me screaming about police and a misunderstanding. I rushed here." Behind him, the man in the suit cleared his throat. "Mrs. Warren, I am attorney Sloan Bishop. I represent Mr. Warren." My skin crawled. He had brought a lawyer. Sloan opened the folder. "We have filed an emergency petition for temporary custody," he said smoothly. "Given your unstable behavior tonight and your documented work travel, Mr. Warren is requesting that Marley be released into his care while the court investigates." Marley made a small sound, terrified. Pierce's eyes flicked to me, warning and steady. Griffin looked at Marley and softened his voice, fake gentle. "Sweetheart, it is okay. Dad is here. We are going home." Marley started to shake. She clutched the blanket. No, you knew I was in there." Griffin's face twitched just for a second like a crack in glass. Then he forced a smile. "Marley, you are confused. Grandma overreacted. I did not know you were locked in anything." I watched him lie to her face and something inside me clicked into place. A simple decision. Not rage, not chaos, control. I took out my phone and hit record. Griffin noticed, and his smile tightened. I said clearly, "So the nurse, the social worker, the deputy, and the lawyer could all hear, Griffin. Tell them what you meant when you told your mother. You cannot let her talk, not until the papers are signed." The room went quiet. Griffin stared at me. And for the first time all night, he looked unsure. Then he opened his mouth to answer. Griffin's eyes flicked to my phone, and I saw the calculation behind his calm. He tried to keep his face soft, like the reasonable parent trapped in a nightmare created by his irrational wife. But his jaw was tight, and that tiny detail told me he was afraid of the room, not of what happened to Marley. He let out a slow breath and turned to the deputy like he was asking for help. "Officer, I do not know what she is talking about. My mother called me saying Genevieve was spiraling and driving like a maniac. I called highway patrol because I was scared. That is all." I did not interrupt him. I did not roll my eyes. I just held my phone steady and watched him build the story he wanted everyone to live inside. Then Attorney Bishop stepped in smoothly. Deputy, we have filed the petition. We are requesting the child be released into the father's care immediately for safety reasons. Waverly, the social worker, shifted closer to Marley's bed. Her voice stayed gentle, but the edge was there. Marley is a patient under our care. She will not be released until medical staff clears her, and not into any situation that might re-traumatize her. Griffin smiled at Waverly like she was a waitress he wanted to charm. I appreciate that. Truly, I just want my daughter safe. Marley made a small broken sound. You are not safe, she whispered. You are why she did it. Griffin turned his eyes to her and softened his voice again. Baby, you are confused. You have been through something scary. Grandma made a bad choice. But you are safe now, and I am going to take care of you. I leaned forward just enough that my voice carried. Griffin, tell them why you were collecting my work schedule in a folder labeled family documents. Tell them why you have been talking about custody for months. His eyes snapped to mine. For a second, his mask slipped. Then it snapped right back in place. Planning is not a crime, Genevieve. Being prepared is not a crime. No, I said quietly. But locking a child in a shed is. Deputy Pierce held up a hand to stop the room from tipping into chaos. His tone turned official. Mr. Warren, your mother is in custody for unlawful confinement and child endangerment. We have confirmed the shed was padlocked from the outside. We have confirmed the window was boarded from the outside. We have photographs and body camera footage of the condition inside. Griffin gave a practiced look of disgust and surprise. That is horrible. I had no idea. Pierce did not flinch. We also have a phone call log. Your mother called you at 9:14 p.m. 2 nights ago. That call lasted 7 minutes. Right after that call, Marley stopped responding to her mother. Griffin's smile stiffened. I cannot control when my mother calls me. Pierce nodded once. True, but we can control what we do with evidence. Mrs. Warren provided screenshots of messages from Marley and an audio recording stating she was locked in the shed and that her father knew. We also have her statement to medical staff today. Marley, can you tell us again in your own words what you told the paramedics? Marley swallowed. Her hands trembled on top of the blanket, but she looked at Pierce and spoke. Dad came the second day. He did not open it. He stood outside and said if I did not sign papers, it would get worse. I begged him. He said, this is what happens when you do not listen. Griffin took a step forward, voice rising just a little. That is not true. She is traumatized. She is repeating things she heard. My mother is manipulative. Pierce held up his palm. Do not approach her. Attorney Bishop cleared his throat. Deputy, with respect, you are letting the mother influence a frightened child. The father is the calm party here. He is offering stability. Waverly's voice stayed calm, but it cut. Stability does not padlock a child in a shed. Griffin snapped his head toward Waverly. You do not know my family. I finally spoke again, still recording. I know your family. Your mother called me the girl for years. She told Marley she was expensive. She told her she was a burden. And you stood there and let it happen. His eyes met mine, and the warmth I used to see there was gone. It was just irritation now, like I was a problem he wanted removed. He turned to Pierce. Deputy, my wife is very emotional right now. She has always been anxious. She is overworked. She overreacts. That is why I filed the petition, for Marley's safety. Pierce's expression hardened. Mr. Warren, you called Highway Patrol and claimed your wife was a danger. Yet she is the one who reported this crime. She is the one who drove here. She is the one who provided proof. If you are trying to build a narrative, this is not going the way you planned. I saw Griffin's nostrils flare. And then, like a door finally slamming, his patience broke. Fine, he said sharply. You want the truth. The truth is I was tired. I was tired of carrying this family. She works all the time. She thinks her job makes her special. She forgets Marley needs discipline. My mother knows how to do that. My stomach turned. He had just said it out loud, right in front of our daughter. Marley's eyes filled with tears. She made me pee in a bucket, she whispered. She laughed at me. Griffin pointed at me, voice rising. See, she is filling her head. She is making this bigger than it is. Pierce stepped closer to him. Mr. Warren, lower your voice. But Griffin was on a roll now, and anger made him sloppy. I was going to fix this, he snapped. I was going to get custody and move us somewhere better. Somewhere my mother could help. Genevieve was never going to stop. She was never going to be a real mom. I needed a judge to see it. I stared at him, and my voice came out quiet. "So you used my child as evidence." He opened his mouth, then seemed to realize what he had admitted. His eyes darted to his lawyer. Attorney Bishop raised his hands. "Mr. Warren, stop talking." Pierce looked at me. "Mrs. Warren, do you have anything else that supports what Marley is saying?" Anything that shows Mr. Warren knew. My hands were shaking, but my mind was crystal clear. Yes, I opened my email, scrolled, and pulled up the voicemail Griffin had left on my phone the day Marley stopped answering. I had not listened, because hearing his voice felt like trusting him again, but I had saved it anyway, the way I saved everything. Compliance had trained me to keep records. Marriage had trained me to doubt my instincts. Motherhood had trained me to be ready. I played it. Griffin's voice filled the room, smooth and low. "Genevieve, stop calling. You are making Marley upset. She needs to learn. If you keep pushing, you will lose her. Just sign the documents when I send them. Then we can all calm down." The room went silent. Pierce's face changed, like the last piece clicked into place. "Thank you, Mrs. Warren." Griffin went pale. He stepped forward like he could snatch the phone out of my hand, and Pierce moved faster. He put himself between Griffin and the bed. "Mr. Warren," Pierce said, "you are not leaving this hospital with that child. You are also not leaving this hospital until we sort out your involvement. Turn around." Griffin laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. "You cannot be serious. I did not lock her in there. My mother did." Pierce's voice was flat. "You threatened the mother. You attempted to interfere with an active investigation by calling highway patrol with false claims, and you have now admitted your plan was to obtain custody using coercive discipline. That is enough for me to detain you while investigators consult the prosecutor. Turn around." Attorney Bishop started talking fast about rights and procedure, but Pierce had already made the call. Another deputy entered, then another. Griffin looked around, realizing no one in that room was on his side. He tried one last time to put the mask back on. "Genevieve," he said softly, like this was a private conversation. "Do not do this. Think about Marley. Think about what this will do to her." I walked to Marley's bedside and took her hand. My voice stayed steady. "What you did already did something to her. What I am doing now is stopping you." Griffin's eyes flashed with something ugly. He leaned closer and hissed, "You will regret this." Pierce moved him back. "Mr. Warren, enough." They escorted him out. His lawyer followed, phone already to his ear. The hallway swallowed them, and then the room exhaled. Marley started to cry, silent at first, then shaking. I climbed into the chair beside her bed and wrapped my arms around her carefully, mindful of the IV. Her body was so thin, so cold. She pressed her face into my shoulder like she was trying to climb back inside me. "Mom," she whispered, "I thought you forgot me." My throat closed. Never. I would burn the world down first. The next 48 hours were a blur of paperwork and decisions. A detective came to take my statement. I handed over screenshots, recordings, call logs. Waverly helped me file for emergency protective custody, and the judge approved it the same night. A restraining order followed, then another one for Rue. The hospital kept Marley an extra day because her electrolytes were off and her panic spikes were severe. When she slept, she jerked awake every hour, eyes wide, searching for walls. The first time she finally slept for 3 straight hours, I sat in the hospital chair and stared at the door, waiting for it to open again. My body did not trust peace yet. Deputy Pierce visited once more before his shift ended. He looked tired but satisfied. "Mr. Warren has been formally arrested," he said. "Conspiracy, child endangerment, obstruction, and false reporting. The district attorney is angry, very angry." I nodded, numb. Pierce hesitated. "Mrs. Warren, I want you to hear this from someone outside your family. You did everything right tonight. You stayed calm. You documented. You protected your child." Tears rose fast and hot, but I blinked them back. "Thank you." After Marley was discharged, we did not go back to our house. I went to it once with 2 deputies and a locksmith. I packed essentials, clothes, Marley's favorite books. The framed photo of her at age 6, missing teeth, covered in frosting. I left everything else, including my wedding album. I did not want it. We moved into a small rental near my sister's place. Marley picked the room with the biggest window. She insisted the curtains stay open at night. I did not argue. I bought nightlights for every corner, and I put a small bell on the front door so she could hear if it opened. Griffin tried to contact me from jail through his attorney. He offered apologies with conditions, regret with blame tucked inside. I did not respond. My lawyer did. Rue sent one letter to Marley. The envelope smelled like cheap perfume and entitlement. I did not let Marley touch it. I handed it to the detective. 3 months later, the case went to court. Marley did not have to testify in front of Griffin. The prosecutor used her hospital statements, the recordings, and the photographs from the shed. Griffin's voice on my voicemail did the rest. He pleaded guilty to avoid trial. The judge granted me full custody. No visitation, no contact. Griffin would have supervised contact only if Marley requested it when she turned 18. The judge looked directly at him when she said it, like she was labeling him for the record. Rue was sentenced too. Not long enough for what she did, but enough that she would not be near a child again for a very long time. On the day everything became official, Marley and I sat at our tiny kitchen table eating grilled cheese. The rain had stopped. Sunlight came through the window and landed on her hands, making her look alive in a way that did not hurt to see. She took a bite, then looked up at me. "Mom." "Yeah, baby." Her voice was small, but steady. "He cannot make us disappear anymore, right?" I reached across the table and squeezed her fingers. "No, he cannot." That night, Marley slept with the curtains open and the lamp on low. She still woke up once, breathing fast. I went to her room and sat on the edge of the bed until her shoulders loosened. She stared at the ceiling for a while, then whispered, "I hate him." I did not correct her. I did not try to make her kinder than she felt. I just said the truth. You are allowed to hate someone who tried to break you. A week later, a small package arrived at the rental. No return address. Inside was a single item in an evidence bag, labeled and sealed by the sheriff's office. The padlock from the shed. A note was tucked behind it, written in Pierce's careful handwriting. "Thought you might want to keep this. Not as a memory, as proof you survived." I held that padlock in my hands for a long time. It was heavier than it should have been for something so simple. A cheap piece of metal that had held my daughter in the dark. Then I walked to the trash bin outside, dropped it in, and listened to it land with a dull final thud, because it was over, and he was never touching my child again.